My name is Stoops. I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden. I work with the International Mountain Bike Association as the European Advocacy Officer, and I've been hosting on Warm Showers for about 5 or 6 years now. As a host, it can be really useful to know the terrain around your home to ensure that your guests choose the right route when they might be, heading to the next town or to the next stop. It can be useful as well to have a good understanding of the local public transportation options, such as trains, buses, and ferries, and know what their bicycle policies are. Perhaps even if you can keep a timetable, or at least know how to find a timetable so that people can easily, use public transportation as a complement to the cycling if need be. Certain trains might accommodate bicycles while others don't. It's good to know what the case might be. You should also perhaps have a good idea about what kind of services might be available, regionally and nearby, knowing where there might be good bicycle shops in the next town over, or even a couple of towns over, if people might be in need of some specific spare parts or in need of a service that could be handled by a professional. The same is true for any other kind of services, such as grocery stores or pharmacies, knowing how people could easily access those. Our hosting option is in a very rural space where there aren't a lot of services, but we can, help guide our guests right when they might need something specific by knowing what the services are like around us. Yeah, hosting for Warm Showers, you don't need to have that much. Oftentimes the people who are traveling are accommodating, and they're grateful for any kind of assistance or help that people can provide along the road. The cabin that we have in outside of Stockholm, it doesn't have indoor plumbing. It does have electricity, but it's quite small. We don't really have room for guests inside, but they're able to pitch their tents outside and fill up their water bottles. I do have a propane bottle powered shower, so people can get a warm shower if they are looking for that at the end of the day. But it's important, I think, both as a host and as a traveler, to be open and understanding of people come with different expectations and with different experiences. We haven't had an issue with anybody that we've had staying with us so far. It's always, people are always very, very pleasant, and it's important to keep a bit of an open mind when bringing people into your home. I'm a lifelong cyclist. I've always enjoyed bicycling and everything to do with cycling, and so it's always great to meet new cyclists and to hear their stories about their journeys and what they've seen in the world when they've been biking, and share their thoughts and their knowledge about cycling. So Warm Showers has always been really interesting to me. It wasn't really until we acquired our cabin outside of Stockholm that I felt that I could really host, because we live quite compact in the city, and I know that there are lots of other Warm Showers options for people who are in Stockholm. But the location of our cabin is a very convenient distance for people who are traveling in or out of Stockholm. It's about 60 kilometers from the city center. And so it makes it an easy stage for a lot of people who are either coming or going from the city. And so being able to open our home to guests and make their travels a little bit easier was something that was really appealing when that was possible. Ever since we started spending more of our time in our summers at our cabin and traveling less, it's been really nice to be able to host people on Warm Showers and get to meet new people, something that you might not do if you're not traveling yourself. And so by opening our homes, we've been able to meet new people and share experiences and hear about their adventures. It's always nice to share a meal as well when you are hosting, and be able to share a little bit of Swedish culture and Swedish traditions with people who are visiting and might not otherwise have the opportunity to experience those things when they're traveling in this country. It's always nice to share a meal with your guests when they might be arriving by bicycle, but it's good to have of course, a general understanding of what people might have for dietary restrictions. So try to communicate that with your guests in the chat function on the Warm Showers app before they arrive, so that you can know what kind of food you might be needing to provide for your guests. We've shared many a wonderful meal with our guests. Sometimes they like to contribute something of their own, but it's always a nice way to get to know someone, to be able to sit around the table and share a meal. I haven't met any of the people that we've hosted again subsequently after hosting them, though I do remain in contact with some of them through email or LinkedIn. There's a lot of people who are quite interested in the work that I do and maybe contact me once they found out about my job when they've been staying with us. And so it's nice to hear from them occasionally on those kind of platforms. And yeah, it's always nice I hope to someday be able to visit some of them again in their homes. People are almost always very open to returning the favor, and so I hope to someday be able to take some people up on that as I travel the world myself on a bike in the future. Yeah, I do have a stash of tools at the cabin. I have my own bike there and bikes for my family. So, of course, there's always a need to do a little bit of work on those bikes. And I do offer these for my guests as well. It's good to have pumps with accommodating for different tires, for example, not necessarily just the ones that you use yourself. And perhaps even tools for parts that you don't yourself use, but you know that other people might be using. Not most people don't take me up on the need to use a repair stand, although people do appreciate a little bit of chain lube and being able to pump up their tires in the morning. I used to keep some tools in an outdoor space, and I was a little bit shocked last summer when I opened it and discovered that a wasp had grown a nest in this tool space. So I would recommend, if possible, to keep your tools in a toolbox inside where they're not necessarily going to get infested by the local wildlife. Yeah, we kind of regret that we hadn't started a guest book when we first started getting guests. It would have been nice to have had something like that through all the years. So it's not something that we have, although we have been making an effort to try to take pictures of each guest that we have. So I do try to keep some photographic memories, at least, of the people who've been staying with us. But otherwise, it's always nice. Sometimes people bring small gifts with them and leave those with us, or might send us a postcard after the fact. And that's always a nice way to remember guests as well. I work with the International Mountain Bicycling Association as the advocacy officer for Europe. So I help member organizations and small clubs and groups working across Europe to try to improve access for mountain biking and ensure that people who are interested in promoting mountain biking have the kind of tools and resources they need to do their jobs and ensure that mountain biking is well represented across Europe. We try to collaborate with other European organizations interested in outdoor recreation, natural areas, and cycling in general. Before working at IMBA, I worked for the Swedish national cycling advocacy organization Cykelfrämjandet, where I was responsible for mountain bike projects, but also projects related to bicycle tourism. And so bringing Warmshowers guests into my home, I was also able to learn a bit more about the people that we were working for, their kind of interests and needs and experiences from both Sweden and from abroad, to get a better feel for how we could do our job better and how to offer better bicycle tourism offers for people in visiting Sweden. If you're planning a trip to Europe by bicycle, I can highly recommend using the Eurovelo routes, which are planned and promoted by the European Cyclist Federation. You can find information about these on Eurovelo.com. You can easily link together, large cities and small towns all across the continent on routes which are certified to be, safe, low traffic routes that are appealing for both the experienced and new cyclists. So if you are interested in bicycle touring and exploring Europe by bicycle, perhaps for the first time, I would definitely recommend using a service like Warmshower or like Eurovelo to try to plot your route. There are lots of Warmshowers hosts who live along Eurovelo routes, myself included. And so I would highly recommend. Most of the guests that we do host are traveling along Eurovelo 10, which is a route around the Baltic Sea. And I know that there are Warmshowers hosts all across all Eurovelo routes in Europe. So I would highly recommend people look into that for planning their bicycle trips in Europe. We had a lot of guests, especially during the pandemic in 2021. I think that was our busiest summer because Sweden was a little bit more open than a lot of European countries. And especially a lot of young people were perhaps feeling a bit cooped up after a year of being indoors with COVID. And so there were a lot of young people traveling that year in their lower 20s. And it was really nice to be able to, offer an inviting and a safe space for them as they were traveling across Europe. It's been really inspiring to see a lot of young people. We've had solo travelers as young as 17 staying with us as they're bicycling across Europe. And being able to provide opportunities and safe spaces for them has been really rewarding, and hopefully to contribute to their positive experiences as they bicycle across the continent. That's something that's been really special. One of the most interesting guest experiences we've had was a French family with 4 children, I believe, who were from an infant to preteen in age, who had decided to take a sabbatical and to ride around the world on bicycles. To debut their tour, they decided to start in Sweden and flew into Stockholm, and we were their first stop on their journey around the world, and we're able to take care of them and hear about their plans and their thoughts. That was really special to see a family taking such a daring move and interested in providing such an amazing experience for their kids. We were able to follow them on social media as they continued their journey and saw what they saw as they traveled around the world, and that was quite fun and exciting. But seeing especially young people traveling has been really fun and rewarding, and we strive to ensure that people have great experiences on bicycles, and especially, starting young and seeing that kids get to have a great experience bicycle touring, that feels like it really can contribute to, fostering a lifelong love of cycling among the next generation.